Today, we become legends.
We all have certain abilities in Smite that we absolutely hate playing into. Justified or not, these abilities make us fume with rage every time we face them, and today I have 15 of my personal most annoying and most hated abilities, and why I think they kill my excitement faster than a sponsor interrupting the video. Speaking of, nah, just kidding, no sponsors today, but now I've raised the bar, subscribing to the channel and liking the video doesn't seem so bad, huh? Thanks, I appreciate you. So I'll start by saying I had to cut down the initial list for this video quite substantially. I had around 30 abilities in the running and picked the worst 15 offenders from among them. That said, here's 3 honorable mentions before we get started with the real list. Apollo's 2 for how quickly it activates and how long it lasts, making it really annoying to deal with for specific gods. AMC's Honey for how free it is to just spam it and poke the entire team and proc Bluestone Crusher and Heartseeker on everyone for free. And finally, Ao Kuang's ultimate for being not only an execute, but one that can't miss, heals him a shit ton and lets him reposition after the fact. But with those out of the way, let's get into the real list in no particular order. Okay, jumping in with my first ability for the list, and we're already getting dangerously close to this video being a return of my old school rants. Charybdis 3 is hands down one of the most annoying abilities to play into in the entire game. Near instant activation, immunity to all damage, and now for some reason all CC during the startup due to a recent patch. Who the fuck thought that was a good idea? Sure, it lost some of the free movement speed that this ability should never have had in the first place, but having an ability that is near instant and gives complete damage and CC immunity for this long of a duration should not also give free movement speed, do solid damage, and have one of the best CCs in the game attached to it. Sure, the knockup is small, but it's not nothing. This ability does have competitors in things like Changa 2 and Sol 3, but none of them do this effect anywhere near as well as Charybdis 3. Changa's 2 is far shorter duration, meaning you have to actually be precise with it to avoid specific damage you predict is coming your way. It's not just a get out of jail free card in every situation. And Sol 3 at least has a wind up where she can be punished before she goes immune. Charybdis has the instant immunity aspect of Changa 2 with the immunity duration of Sol 3. And I think it's the recent rise of Charybdis into the meta, along with the preposterous change made to make this CC immune during the wind-up, and remove the only small nugget of counterplay that this ability had, that means it has to absolutely make the list for me. So next up is a really obvious one, and that probably appears on 99% of your own lists as well, that being Arteo's Druid Form 2, Entangling Vines. It's a 6-second unmissable moving AoE cripple. There's not much more to say here. This ability alone single-handedly invalidates some gods that rely on movement abilities to do their stuff, such as King Arthur, Thor, Fenrir, or Susanoo. But even just against normal gods that just rely on their movement ability for safety, this is super fucking annoying to deal with. Other such strong cripples do exist, such as Ares Chains, that won't make the list, because despite lasting 8 seconds instead of 6, it's at least a skill shot and single target if you want the full 8 seconds. Otherwise, it's 4 seconds on each target. Fuck Arteo 2, moving on. Next up, another obvious one, that being Aphrodite's ultimate, Undying Love. Again, I don't think this one needs much explanation. It's beads and Aegis for 2 seconds on 2 people with a 54-second cooldown. Playing into a half-decent Afro that's pocketing a jungler or backliner the entire game is some of the most cancerous gameplay Smite has to offer. Oh, and just to add salt on the wound, you can also heal during Afro when you can't during almost any other immunity effect in the game. Meaning not only is all your damage irrelevant, they actually come out with more health after you kit dump them than they had before most of the time. It's a simple ability, but boy is it one of the most annoying to deal with. So this next one might not be as obvious as the previous two, but Chernoboggle annoys me to no end in this game. The degenerate strategies it allows and promotes just makes it super unfun to play into. Late game against a team with a Chernobog plays completely differently to any other game because of how easily the Bog can just split push or even power farm with impunity, because as soon as you send someone to deal with him, he just presses 4, pieces out and makes your team fight a 4v5 somewhere else on the map. Even if you decide not to send someone to deal with him and just full send into the enemy team, he just ults over anyway and it costs him almost nothing. This ult just lets Bog players get away with pretty much everything they want as long as it's up. I feel like people don't give this one enough shit, but I definitely will here. Fuck this ability and the way it turns normal Smite games into degeneracy at rapid speed. Apollo ult was also on my shortlist for this video, but it takes a while to fly over to a fight on the other side of the map if he's split pushing, which gives you a bit more time to engage the enemy team before he arrives. Cherno ult is much faster at getting there and also faster on startup, making it less punishable than Apollo's version, which in itself is already quite annoying and did make my shortlist. Fuck this ability and fuck Chernobog players. Okay, next up is Bastet 1, which will not take as much explanation. It's just super fucking annoying that she can dive in and always have that fallback that saves her from everything bar being CC chained into instant death. It lets her get away with so much bullshit, and if she has bees, there's pretty much nothing you can do about her diving in to either poke you out or 100 to 0 you with impunity. But hey, at least she can't leap back while CC'd like she could on Bastet release. Silver linings, people. Okay, so I'm sort of cheating with this next one, but I couldn't make a most hated list without including Nox's 2-1 combo. I know it's technically 2 abilities, but it may as well be one that takes up 2 ability slots. I won't dwell too long on it because I have railed against this many times in several different videos over the years, as have other community members, but this kind of long duration lockdown should not be given to a mage that also deals this much damage. Even on a Guardian, this ability would be borderline, but it just adds insult to injury that a burst mage gets this. I will say, in support, I don't find it quite as annoying as other supports have similar-ish levels of lockdown, though none quite compare. This combo is just a bees check that kills you if you don't have them, and while those kind of checks exist in many other places, none are quite as deadly or on as low a cooldown as this one. But if you want an instant way to deal with Nox combo, look no further than my next entry in Geb Shield. I know, supportive abilities are generally off limits for hatred, but fuck that and fuck this ability, honestly. If this list was ranked in order, it would be on the lower end of the list, but still, this ability can completely deny certain gods so hard that they may as well not exist. Nox being an obvious one, but it's more common than you think for Geb Shield to single-handedly deny a pick from working, either due to its damage shield, its instant cleanse of CC, or both. Nox, Fenrir, Aoquang, Kali, Sobek, Naja if you have a cracked reaction time. There are just so many egregious examples, but so many smaller ones exist as well that this ability just completely shuts down, and it's underrated in how annoying it is to play against for at least half the roster. Next up is Kali ult, which is another obvious one I won't spend too much time on, but within the context of Kali's kit due to her insane shred and burst heal from target kills, this ability, while it has counters in stuns, anti-heal and Aegis, can be super annoying to deal with. I mean, it literally makes you immune to dying for 4.5 seconds, which is more than enough time for Kali to 100 to 0 you with autos alone and reset herself with a passive heal. Again, if this list was ranked in order, Kali would be quite low on it, especially given how many nerfs her passive has taken over the years, which means she actually is under threat even after getting a target kill and can't run through your whole team quite as easily as the old days. Even still, this ability is super annoying. Moving on, next up we have Kuzenbo's 3. This is pretty much the coup de grace of annoying push abilities. Not only can Kuzenbo completely control where you go once he grabs you with this, it can also completely delete you early game if he pushes you through a wave, and has effectively a 5-second cooldown due to his 2's cooldown refund mechanic. There's a lot of annoying aspects to fighting Kuzenbo, such as reflect damage, the washing machine ults, Nene's blocking autos and abilities, etc. But I think his 3 is the most egregious of them and is a large portion of why I hate him. Okay, so this next one is simple and unanimous. Nuwa's ultimate is the most free ability in the entire game and definitely one of the most annoying. It's not even that it's particularly overpowered or has certain matchups that it completely shuts down like some others on this list. It's just a completely unmissable massive chunk of damage. That's pretty much it. Sure, you can use it for some smart vision-based plays, but let's be honest, 99% of Nuwas don't use it this way and just farm top player damage and or use it to secure kills they definitely earned. Fuck this ability. So this one might be a surprise to a lot of you being Odin's too. I think this ability is really emblematic of the larger playstyle issue of Odin just being completely unkillable. When used as the bird bomb, this is actually fine in my opinion, but when used as a shield, it's just cancerous to play against. With a 7-second cooldown at max CDR that is more like a 5-second cooldown by the time the shield actually expires, this is just up way too often. And combined with Odin's leap that is also on a low cooldown, he's just way too hard to lock down and kill when played by just shielding, then jumping when the shield expires, and by that time the shield is probably back up and repeat. Throw your 3 in the downtime. It's just complete degeneracy and all stems from this ability. Speaking of degeneracy, next up is Persephone's ultimate. So the core concept of this ult I think could work without being annoying, but 2 critical aspects of it just completely ruin the ability for me. The first being the vines it throws out after landing, meaning if one of your drooling noob teammates runs straight into this ability, it fucks you over for their misplay, which is annoying in itself. But even worse, Persephone herself can completely misplay and still fuck you over due to the fact that this ability can completely miss its intended target, hit a wall behind you and still do work. It just rewards bad play and not thinking, which is super annoying. Speaking of not thinking, next up is Calder, which I'm sure all of you could have placed a substantial bet on being on my list. It's widely hated and I've talked about it many times before, so I won't spend too much time here, but Calder just does so much for Skadi in terms of free damage and blocking enemy auto attacks with no skill required other than pressing 4 when he gets low. Super annoying, let's move on. And we may as well stick with annoying quote pets, as next up is Vulcan's turret. This is a newer one for me in terms of hatred, and for the longest time I didn't realize why people got so pissed off at Vulcan turret. But yeah, this ability is so ridiculously annoying to deal with, especially for melee characters. Until recently it had a base 10-second cooldown, 6 seconds with max CDR, and goes on cooldown as soon as it's placed, meaning if you don't destroy the turret within 6 seconds, he's just going to place another one as soon as you kill it. It inherits Vulcan's penetration as well, so completely chunks after just 1 or 2 hits, which is sort of unavoidable for a melee god trying to dive Vulcan in teamfights. This ability is just so free and should go on cooldown after it's destroyed, not immediately. And let's finish the video off with a banger, that being Vamana's ultimate. Another one that is obvious and would likely make 99% of your guys' list as well. This ult is just the pinnacle of no-skill left-click W gameplay. It's taken some nerfs since its peak in year 10, but even still, this ability gives Vamana a shit ton of free power and prots, a massive regenerating shield, free lifesteal, ghost walk, reduced basic attack movement penalties, free movement speed, AoE basic attacks, and even a little bit of free attack speed due to his passive conversion. This gives Vamana far too many things that is far too low skill for me to ever not hate this ability. But that's all I've got for my 15 most annoying / most hated Smite abilities. Do you agree with my list? Are there any major ones that you think should have been here, or any specific pet peeve abilities that annoy you but don't particularly get a lot of widespread hate in the community? Let me know down below and I'll catch you guys in another one later on. Have a great day and peace out, you nerds.